All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is going to be a lesson talking about how all these 2/3 men, right? Or all these people that don't want to, all these Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that don't want to acknowledge that they are Israelites. They always want to complain about the unfair treatment that we have in this world, and they always want to complain about racism, right? Or they always want to complain about how if this person does it, then this result will happen, or if that person does it, then that will happen, or want to complain about the unfair treatment that they have in this world, right? But then when we tell them that they're cursed, or when they hear Israelite tell them that they're cursed, right, then they don't want to accept that, right? And you've got all these people that are on Sarnetta TV, that they've got all these things, and they're now even starting to understand certain ways of how the God of the Bible is, right? They'll be pulling out Deuteronomy 21, they'll pull out Deuteronomy 22, right? They'll say, yeah, God makes good and evil. They'll understand all of these things, and that's what the Bible actually says. Yet they still don't believe in the Bible anyway. And all of this just shows that these people are the Israelites, man, and that they're stiff-necked, man. Right? The Israelites is a stiff-necked nation, man. Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forsaken the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. Right? Like the verse 7 as well. As they were increased, so they sinned against me. Therefore, I will change their glory into shame. And that's the reason why we're catching hell out here, right? That's the reason why our lives suck, man. Right? That's the reason why your life sucks. That's the reason why if you go into the shop, right, the security guard doesn't realize that he's at work until you come in there, no matter what the nationality is, right? If an Edomite goes into the store, the security guard he's just doing his thing, whatever. But when you go into the store, that's when you start seeing to get active with the CCTV camera, right? But he'll be pretending that he's not watching you walk around the store, and it don't even really matter about whether you look like a criminal going in there, right? It doesn't really matter about your age. Like, people can say it's about the way that you dress and all of that. Nah, man, it's because you're an Israelite. Because back when Israelites used to dress in suit and ties, like they was going to church in the whole Martin Luther King and Malcolm X times and all of that, they weren't dressed like thugs. They was dressed in suit and ties like they was going to church, and they were still getting their ass whooped too, man. So don't try and give us none of that, oh, it's because of how you dress stuff. No, it's because of who we are, man. It's because of who we are. The dress code didn't have nothing to do with it, man. It's because the Edomites hate the Israelites because we're cursed. And Yahweh's made them be our enemy. Yahweh stirred them up against us. But all you Israelites that don't want to acknowledge that you're cursed ain't ever going to be able to understand these things. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which are commanded this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So all of these things and all these problems that we have in our life are because we're cursed. Verse 19, cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. So from the moment you're born, you're cursed. Right? From the moment you're born, you're cursed, man. And when you leave, you're going to be cursed too. Right? Cursed when you enter the house, cursed when you exit the house, man. Cursed when you enter the world, cursed when you exit the world, man. Right? Verse 20, Yahweh shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, in order that settest thine hand unto for to do so. If you try and start a business, your business, even though you might be a smart man, you might be smart, man. You might have that best resume going, man. You might be real smart, but your company, even though you succeed, it's not succeeding the way it would if we was in our kingdom. You might have your own company and you're doing good, but it's just not the same as if you was a heathen. It's just not the same as if we was in our own society where we run things, right? It's just not the same, man. You don't have that same panaz as if it was in our own kingdom. right? Unto for to do, hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. So that's the reason why all of our lives end up jacked up, man. If you look at any of these celebrities, man, the end of their life they always have all these celebrities, they always have a story. Oh man, I grew up in the hood. I was eating water with cornflakes with water. No, Papa wasn't around, Daddy wasn't around, Mama was strung out on drugs. If I didn't make it in this sport, I would don't know what I would have done, man. And all that shit. And then the ones over in the UK, they've got that same story too, man. It's a hard knock life tale, right? And then they always end up having a story about, they always end up having a tragic death too. They always end up being a star for the time, but then there's that tragic death that they end up receiving at the end of it. So they've got that tale of woe when they came in, right? That they use as the promotion for their career. Oh, I'm glad I do in this sport because if it wasn't for this sport, or if it wasn't for music, or if it wasn't for acting, I'd probably be dead or in jail, right? And then they end up dead anyway, from a weird way, or they end up strung out, just drugged off. They always end up with some bugged out, some cursed exit of their life, man. No matter how talented they was, and that's the curses. That's the curse, man. Let me go to some more. Let me get this one, verse 22. Yahweh shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. That's going into health problems and physical violence, man. That's going to happen to you until you perish, man. That's the reason why our lives are jacked up, man. Right? That's the reason. It's not because we're dumb. It's not because we don't have a high IQ and all that BS that people want to say. Because if we do the same thing as a heathen, something's just going to happen to where it don't work out the same way for us, man. And it's not because we're stupid. It's because we're cursed. And it doesn't matter whether saying I don't believe that I'm like, this is what I see some of the people in the black unconsciousness community try and say, oh, I don't believe in that God, so it don't work on me. No, you're still cursed, man. Sarnetta and them ain't no less cursed than what we are, man. They're still under the same curses. And that's why a lot of the topics that they talk about are still the same thing. And that's why no matter how hard they try and go away from the Bible and say they don't believe in it, they still keep reading from it though, huh? You still keep noticing that Sarnettas keep diving into that Bible more and more, reading it, right? To the point where he's even cutting some Israelites that are lying about the Bible. He's even cutting some of them with the scriptures. But you notice how this Israelite that wants to try and say he ain't an Israelite keeps reading that book. And really, he wants to know the Lord, man. Really, he wants to know, man. And that's why he's asking about what the MOTB is, right? But he's trying to do it in a scoffing way, but at the same time trying to get knowledge, right? He's trying to scoff, but at the same time try and get knowledge because he wants the answers, but he wants to scoff at the same time, which is weird. Verse 28, Yahweh shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart, right? And that's why, again, you can use that whole conscious community thing and you can see that that's going on among them, man. They're always cursing each other out, going in on each other, man. And then they apologize and all that for a time. And then they start cursing each other out again. Calling each other wicked, calling each other demons, going into all the scandals that they're doing behind the scenes, how they're stealing from each other, right? How they're robbing from each other. They're always going into those things, right? But that can be seen among our people, no matter what philosophy it is. Even among people that are Israelites, you can see the same traits in that because it's the curses among Israelites, whether they accept being an Israelite or not. If you're an Israelite, the curse is on you, right? Verse 35, Yahweh shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. So you're going to have some body ailments, man. And it will start potentially getting worse once you know you're an Israelite, man. Once you've heard that message, whether you believe it or reject, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. It doesn't matter whether you want to say that you're not even an Israelite. Once you've heard that you are, you can't turn your back on that. You can't ignore that you've heard that you are. You've heard it. You can't say you haven't heard it because you've heard it now. Verse 37, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whither Yahweh shall lead thee. And every single nation has got a secret word that they use for the Negro, for the Latino, and for the Native American. They've got a secret word, man. Whether we know what that word is, don't matter. But all these nations have secretly got some kind of slang term, some kind of slang insult to throw our way. And they've just got other names to call us that we're not. So instead of calling a tribe of Issachar person a tribe of Issachar, an Israelite from the tribe of Issachar, they'll call him a Mexican, or they'll call him Latino or Latina, right? Or instead of calling a person from the tribe of Asher, a person from the tribe of Asher, they say you're Brazilian. You see? Or instead of calling a tribe of Judah, they'll say that they're African American. They might say that they're Ghanaian. They might say that they're Nigerian. Instead of calling a Benjamite, they're gonna call him, oh, he's Trinidad and Tobago. Oh, he's Caribbean. He is. Oh, he's from the Bahamas. Oh, he's Jamaican. Oh, instead of calling a person tribe of Gad, that's tribe of Gad, and the Israelite from the tribe of Gad, they'll say, oh, he's a red Indian. Oh, that's the redskin man. They're the nerve of Esau, but they'll say it. And all of these proverbs and bywords, people hear them and they know who's being spoken about. Because Yahweh's put that on us because we have cursed right now. Verse 38, thou shalt carry much seed out into the field. Thou shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. And that goes into many things. That goes into crops. We don't have no crops, right? But there might be some people that are growing some vegetables in their garden or whatever. Okay, big deal, right? Big deal. Like it's not really gonna be enough to sustain you. So you're still gonna have to go to the store, bruh, because we're cursed right now. But a lot of Israelites, they see all this state of our people, but they want to try and not acknowledge that we're cursed. And there's a scripture on that in here. Let me get this. Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 18. In fact, verse 17. And ye have seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them, lest there should be among you man or woman or family or tribe whose heart turneth away this day from Yahweh our power to go and serve the gods of these nations, lest there should be among you a root that beareth gall or wormwood, and it come to pass when he heareth the words of this curse, that he shall bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of mine heart, to add drunkenness to thirst. And that's what some people do, man. They've heard about the curses, and then they'll say, man, you Israelites are always going into Deuteronomy 28 to try and prove that you're Israelites. Of course you're going to do that, because that proves that we're Israelites, because you can see things among us that you can't see among other people. And even when you do see some of it to among other people, it's still worse among us, or gets treated as worse when we do it, because we're cursed. So if two people commit a crime, one being an Israelite and the other one being any other nation, they're always going to try and make out like it's way more outrageous what the Israelite did, man. All the time. Verse 20, Yahweh will not spare him, but then the anger of Yahweh and his jealousy shall smoke against that man, and all the curses that are written in the book shall lie upon him, and Yahweh shall blot out his name from under heaven. So you can't try and say, oh, I'm not under the curse. Verse 21, and Yahweh shall separate him unto evil out of all the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in this book of the law. You can't try and make out like you're not under the curses, man. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, man. You can't say, no, I ain't cursed. Who are you to say that? Who are you that's the creation to try and tell you creator, you can't curse me? Who do you think you are? Because whoever you think you are, it's not going to be that, man. Haggai chapter 1 and verse 3. Then came the word of Yahweh by Haggai the prophet, saying, Is it time for you, O ye, to dwell in your sealed houses, and this house lie waste? Now therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. Ye have sown much and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye clothe you, but ye are not. Ye have sown much, but bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye eat, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. Some of these people that are Israelites, right? They have money, man. They're getting money. They're so-called getting the bag. But they're still miserable, though. Because the respect that they desire, which is the reason why they're chasing that money, they ain't got it. So you'll catch them on video every now and again, right? They'll be rich and they've just moved into a new neighborhood, but the people that they've moved into the neighborhood by don't want them there. So they'll call the police on them, right? Or they'll be being neighbors from hell. If they throw a party, they'll be calling the cops on them, you know? As soon as they do anything, they're going to be calling the cops because they don't want them there. If they invite neighbors around and the neighbors allow, they're going to call the police and lie and say that you're doing something out of order, right? If you walk into a store, they're going to follow you around because it's the curses, man. It's just never going to be enough in this world. It's always going to seem like, man, I need more money than that. Or I've made this amount, but I need more. Because it's part of the curses, man. Verse 7, Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. Go up to the mountain and bring wood and build the house, and I will take pleasure in it, and I will be glorified, saith Yahweh. Now, this is going into when the Israelites was going to be rebuilding the temple, right? But you can apply this to now too. Verse 9, you looked for much, and lo, it came to little. And when you brought it home, I did blow upon it. Why, saith Yahweh of hosts? Because mine house that is waste, all right? Because of mine house that is waste. And you've run every man to his own house. And that's why Yahweh don't want us to have no peace in Babylon the Great, the North Country. Neither does he want us to have a peaceful life in the UK, man. Or in Germany, or in Australia, or in Spain, or in Italy, or in any of the other places that we are. Right? Because he wants us to build his house. He wants us to go back to Israel, man. He don't want us to build up nothing definitely not in America, because America is going to be destroyed, man. But even building up, trying to say, oh, I'm not in America, so I can build up things then. No, we still ain't got the ability to do that either, because the curses will make sure of that. The curses will make sure that we ain't going to be able to build up in this world past a certain point, man. Because if we did build up past a certain point, ultimately, we might get proud and we might get comfortable here, and Yahweh would then have to destroy us, man. We might take that charagma then. So you might get a bit of a leeway every now and again where you're not distraught and destitute of money. But then you're also going to get that time where you're having to check your bank balance after doing any purchases, man. You might have a time where you're unemployed, right? But then you might have a time where you've got a job. But when you're employed, you shouldn't be getting proud looking down at other people because you're employed now. And when you're unemployed, you shouldn't be feeling like, man, I'm just a waste, man. I'm a piece of garbage. I'm a bum, right? And I'm just going to be destroyed and destitute out here. Because you should remember the times where Yahweh's been able to drag you out of that. But we're not supposed to be designed to be Ben Stiller's work, Ben Affleck out here, man. To be millionaires out here. You shouldn't be able to look us up and see that we're worth 150 million. I'll say that. And even 10% of that would be a bit strange to me. If there's an Israelite out there that's worth 15 million, I'd think, man, that's a bit weird, because, like, I don't understand how you're able to pull that off. I think that's very strange, man, which ain't no hating. I just think, like, how can, if the scriptures say, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, like, that would be have to be one of the most charitable Israelites out there, for Yahweh to give them that and for them to still make it and get on the chariot, man. That would have to be a real, some kind of Israelite to be having that. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in the want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. And we can see in history who's had a yoke of iron put on their neck, man. We can see who. Definitely the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, man. Definitely. And we can see that we have to go to our enemies in the want of all things. Even, for example, let me use Benjamin for an example, man. Benjamite food, right, I think tastes quite nice, right? But I almost always know that if I order for a delivery or I go into a restaurant that sells Benjamite food, right, it doesn't even matter what it is. I can almost guarantee that they are not gonna have the ingredients, man. Right? If I order the dumplings, which is flour and water, or if they're making a certain type of one, it might be flour, water, cornmeal, and brown sugar, right? But I can almost guarantee that they're gonna tell me that they don't have dumplings when it's flour and water. That's 2 ingredients, man. Maybe 3 if they put salt in there. But the reason for that, why Benjamites and how Jakes can't have certain restaurants and that, is because of the curses. Because they have to go to the enemy for the want of all things. So because these heathens don't want us to have our own restaurants and stuff like that, because they're our enemy, they're going to try and give us a different price on supplies. Right? Which is ultimately Yahweh making them do that. Because Yahweh don't want us to build up past a certain point here. Because these heathens are not better than us in anything apart from being demons. And how do we prove that? What's the closest thing that we can prove that nobody can try and take away from us, that we show the truth and bring the most out of that? The Bible, man. You've got all these people in the world that they have the Bible as well, but they are not able to bring out the same things from the Bible that we are. They ain't able to give life to this book, to where when you look outside into the world, you can see things. So if you see an Edomite with no hands, but he's still able to shoot guns and hit the target from 500 yards away, you understand why he's able to do that. Because you know that he's an Edomite and that his blessing is the sword. Right? You understand why. You understand why. You understand why our women do the things that they do. You understand why the women of our nation don't give us respect. Because it's a curse. Deuteronomy 28 and 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother, and towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children which he shall leave. Right? That's going into how the men are going to literally leave their children. Right? So part of the whole, the men leaving the children thing, that's true. There's truth to that, man. There's a whole bunch of men in this world that they like to just sleep with women and they don't want to have no responsibility for them. Right? That's a real thing, man. That there is certain women out there that can have a grievance of saying that there's certain men that do that. There is, of course. Right? But why have men been made like that? That's to bring a curse upon the women. That's to punish the women that have sinned. Right? Verse 56, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom, and towards the son, and toward her daughter. Now, why is the woman made like that? Because that's to bring a curse upon the men. So if a man's got a woman that can't stand his ass, and she's not going to be kind-hearted towards her children either, right? That man's lifestyle is going to be altered by that. Because the man's not going to feel like, man, I've got a woman that I can go out and be making money and stuff like that, and she's going to have my back, and she'll even help me expand my growth. She'll actually help me by not being a demon at home. She'll actually help me and come up with ideas on how I can improve the money that I'm making, which is what it goes into in Proverbs 31, right? The woman's not going to do that when you're cursed. She's going to be thinking how she can spend the money for herself, right? And keep continually thinking about her own self. She's not even going to think about the children or about your daughter, son or your daughter. And why has that been done? To curse the men. So both the men and the women have been given a curse from Yahweh. The women have got a grievance towards the men of the nation because they say that the men don't make enough, or the men of the nation will lie to the women and deceive them in certain cases and just get them pregnant and run away, right? But then the women have also became a curse unto the men. The men that are like that have been made like that deliberately for Yahweh to curse the women, man. And the women that get on our nerves and we can't stand them, that's been made deliberately as a curse for us. So you women ain't gonna be saying, man, let me find my man another wife. I know he likes women with long, wet and wavy hair that are this shade of brown, right? That are this height, that have got this body type. Let me find him another wife, man. Because I know he's stressed. She ain't gonna do that, is she, bro? No. She's not gonna do that. And if someone out there got that, well, hey, congratulations, man. But most people don't have that. Right? Most people don't, man. Verse 57. And toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege, and straightness with thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. And that happened, you can read about it in the scriptures. But guess what? It's going to happen again. It's going to happen again when famine comes upon the world. You're going to hear about it, man. You're already hearing about stories where women are harming their children, throwing their children in bins in the hospital and that. Right? What? Planned Parenthood, man. That's part of this. That's part of this curse, man. That's part of the curse. Let me get some more. Verse 58. If thou will not observe, if thou will not observe to do all the words of this law which are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, Yahweh thy power, then Yahweh will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues of long continuance, so that you're gonna have all that chronic diseases, man, and sore sickness, and of long continuance, chronic diseases, to the point where people be saying that, man, oh, this thing runs in the family. Well, the reason why it looks like it runs in the family is because you're cursed. So your family has got a certain way that they live to where the curse gets to continue. That's why it's of a long continuance, man. Verse 60, so you might end up as a brother getting a similar plague as what your dad had, man. Or a similar plague as what your mom had. Verse 60, moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, of which thou wast afraid, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in this book of the law, them will Yahweh bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. So there ain't no sunny time when you're cursed, man. But guess what? There is a sunny time when you understand this. All these curses are going to come upon our enemies, man. These curses are going to fall upon every single heathen, man. All the things that make us a laughing stock right now, to where people walk by us and they're like, man, look at how they live, man. Tramps. Right? How they think about us like we're just tramps. How they get on World Star and they think they're watching National Geographic. Right? How they laugh about what's happening in Chicago. Right? But then they don't say anything about what's happening between Russia and Ukraine, which is happening on a way larger scale. Right? Or they don't say nothing about what happened to Nord Stream 2, which is way more harmful than anything that's happening in Chirac, as they call it, man. All that hypocrisy, because we're cursed. Understanding that we're cursed actually makes you not feel just distraught out here, man, because you understand that, man, okay, this is all happening for a reason. It's not just because we're all the lies that these people tried to put upon us. It's happening because Yahweh's made it be this way, right? Verse 68, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and they shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, no man shall redeem you out of that, man. And that's a great one, because that makes us really understand that these Edomites are not nowhere near as strong as they think they are, man. And the only reason why they was able to put us in slavery is because Yahweh made them be able to, man. Not because they're the more dominant nation, not because they're smarter than us, not because they're wiser, but because Yahweh made it happen. And how can you fight against, how can one make 1,000 go to flight, except their rocks disown them, man? Doesn't it say that in the scriptures? Let me see if I can find that. Let me see. Here we go. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 30. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock had sold them and Yahweh had shut them up? So how could these nations have did anything to us like how they've did when we're stronger than them physically? Except Yahweh disowned us, man. But if you don't want to accept and acknowledge the curses, well, you're just going to remain delusioned for your whole life, man. But how long is that delusion going to last? Up until the point where Yahweh brings the destruction, man. Let me see if I can find that. Isaiah chapter 6 and verse 9. And he said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not. So everyone has heard the words that we speak. Everyone's heard, let me say it like this, man. Everyone's heard the words that's written in the Bible, man. Loads of people have heard about the Hebrew Israelites. Loads of people have said, you know what? We're Israelites, you know. Have you ever heard of, like, they've heard Kanye West say it, man. They heard all these celebrities say these things. They heard it, man. But now they ain't saying that no more. And see ye indeed, but perceive not. So people have seen the same words in a book. Everyone's got a Bible in their house, man. Even the people that are scoffers and atheists have probably got a Bible in their house. But they can see the words, but they don't perceive it, man. Make the heart of these people fat and make their ears heavy and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed. So Yahweh's made it be done like this because he doesn't even want to heal every Israelite, which is even more greater way that you have to fear the Lord, man. Verse 11. Then said I, Lord, how long? And he answered, until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly destroyed, and the land be utterly desolate. So when the blinders on all of these people, all these Israelites, are going to finally come off and they're going to realize, man, we was cursed. Man, we are Israelites. But it's going to be too late by then. All hell's going to be breaking loose by then, right? All hell's going to be breaking loose. Oh, like the nukes are going to be flying in the sky at that time, man. Then they're going to realize, oh, yeah, we are Israel. We are Yasharallah. But you can't go around trying to complain about the situation that you're in all the time, which is what Israelites like to do, man. They like to say, oh, man, it's racism, man. First hired, first fired and all of this. But you don't understand why, though. It's because you're cursed. And why are you cursed? That's the question, too. Why are you cursed, man? Because you sinned against the Lord. We had a covenant with Yahweh, and we broke it. And there's a TV show, man. It's a very good TV show, man. Right? On Amazon. It's on Amazon. And it's called Them. Right? And it's got a UK rapper that most people in the UK would know. He's called Bashi, man. Right? And it's got him on there. And in there's 2 episodes, man. Covenant 1 and Covenant 2. And in those 2 episodes, they basically go into the curses, man. They basically show it. They basically show it, man. They let it be known. This is the reason why this is happening. It's because you're cursed. They show it in there, man. They show it in there. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone. Shalom to the elect, to the nation of Israel. Shalom.